In today's video, I'm going to go over a trade setup and kind of the thought process that goes through it. So it's not a new setup for you, but it's an example of one that we had in the past recently. Now this is a daily chart of Square, and if you looked at it when the market was starting to rally slightly, we had price clearly below the 200 simple moving average. You had it clearly below the 50, and the 5 and 13 were in a sell mode with the 5 below the 13. So that's typically one that we want to look at on the sell side, not only because of where it's at relative to the moving averages, but because you had a bearish pattern of lower lows and lower highs at that time. So I ran a couple of areas. There were two areas that stood out. But the first one came in at this 70.34 to 71.60 area. Now that came from, again, taking prior rally swings within the downtrend and then projecting them from the new low at that time. I also ran a retracement of this prior high to low swing, and that's what gave us that general zone. So what are you supposed to do with this information? I've given you guys some trading plans that you can use, and I've posted them on Twitter before. And you can use those to execute against these setups. So for example, we had 70.34 was, let's see, which is the highest high here? 70.20, yeah, 70.34 was the actual highest high, and that was that perfect symmetry projection. And if you go down to the lower time frame chart, that's where you want to look for triggers, because you're not going to wait for a sell trigger on a daily chart, because by the time you get one on a daily chart, you're so far away from the resistance that it's not a low risk trade anymore. So that's why we use the lower time frame chart. That's going to get us in, sooner rather than later. And then we can define our risk either, above the high that's made prior to the sell signal, or above the high end of the zone, which would have been above 71.60. Either way is okay to look at it. So let's go back to the 15-minute chart. So 15-minute chart is an aggressive swing trade trigger for me. Okay, and I'll show you where it first occurred. So here's where you tested the 70.34 resistance, with this nice little rally up here, and then you did see the moving average crossover to the downside here. And when you see the crossover, you also want to see if it shifted pattern. So I basically wanted to see if it also took out a prior swing low, and it did. It took out the prior swing low over here and then had the moving average crossover to the downside. So that was the first sell signal against that resistance. And again, the stop could be either above here or above the high end of that zone. But this is the way that you're supposed to work or use my work. It's called setup plus trigger equals trade entry, and then you manage it. And the setup was the resistance on the daily chart. The trigger was the 15-minute chart with the EMA crossover and pattern shift. And then obviously you can enter the trade. A lot of my traders use options. And then managing is the initial stop, and then also how you're going to trail a stop. So anyway, that's just an idea, or actually an example of how you use my work, so when I do post some of these other charts, you know what to do with them.